Hey, what's going on, everyone? I just want to make a quick video on my first impression of the pre-Oceania 4 adept bow. And right off the bat, if you ask me if it's worth farming for this bow over something like Under Your Skin or your pre-existing Strident Whistle over Point of the Stag, the answer is probably no. The only reason you would want this is because of the adept draw time, allowing you to hit 540 without the help of Oathkeepers on Hunter. And if you're wondering if you can pair adept draw time with Oathkeeper, the answer is no, because it's capped at 540 at the lowest possible draw time for precision frames. Now again, if you've been using this version of Under Your Skin, you probably don't need this bow, right? If you're using something like Point of the Stag with Swashbuckler and Archer's Tempo, you probably don't need this bow. There's like 2 or 3 reasons that you would probably want this bow for, and I don't think they're relevant enough for the average player to care. Obviously, the main reason, I've mentioned this before, is adept draw time, allowing you to hit the 540 cap while using a different exotic other than Oathkeepers, on top of being able to hit this 540 on Titans and Warlocks, because previously you are not able to do that. The only way you could do that in the past is by using the adept draw time mod on a non-adept bow when you first got it, but obviously that exploit got fixed. So now, for example, here, if I pull my Biting Winds with the adept accuracy, as you can see, the accuracy bump is not present, and I can just unequip this and it doesn't change anything. The role that I have here is Archer's Tempo Explosive Head, and the only relevant role I'd say is Elastic String, Draw Time Masterwork, and Archer's Tempo. Everything else can be whatever, because the probability of getting a God Roll bow is already very, very low. There are a couple of perks that I would suggest. Instead of Fiberglass here, you can put something like Compact Arrow Shaft for +10 reload and handling. Although if you do end up getting Fiberglass or this version, the accuracy bump is not bad either. For the third column, always go for Archer's Tempo. At least me personally, I would always go for Archer's Tempo. Perpetual Motion is the next best thing. Everything else you can forget. Luckily, you can get 2 perks on this slot so that the probability of you getting Archer's Tempo is doubled. So it's only 1 out of 3 instead of 1 out of 6. And for the last column, you can go with Incandescent, Collective Action, Successful Warm-Up, or even Opening Shot. The only 2 perks that I don't find any value in is Explosive Head and Precision Instrument. I feel like these 2 perks are the most useless one. And also, obviously, you always want Draw Time and you always want Elastic String. You can go for Polymer if you're using something like Oathkeepers to bring this back down to 576 and have a little bit more accuracy. But other than that, let's talk about the origin trait here. You can completely ignore Stunning Recovery because it doesn't work in PvP. Now, Vanguard Vindication is actually not bad, healing you at 7 HP each time you get a kill. However, Wildcard here, I've been testing it out. I do get a couple of kills when playing Comp Showdown. I did play like 3 games of Comp and 3 games of Control using this bow, and Wildcard seems to be the better pick. It deals up to 39.5 damage there inside of PvP. So if you do end up killing someone in Showdown and you end up headshotting someone and then you get killed by that person, if that person attempts to resurrect his teammate, they will die, right? For the Adapt mod here, you can put Adapt Icarus for handling and AE. This bow already have one of the highest AE in the game, sitting at 17. Now, the only other bow, or precision bow, I should say, that have a higher airborne effectiveness than this one is actually the Raconteer, sitting at 20 airborne effectiveness. Now, the main reason why I'm replacing my Strident Whistle with the pre-Oceania 4 is because it's solar and it can completely replace my Strident Whistle one-on-one. And since this is also a solar bow similar to Strident, I can continue to use Dawnblade with harmonic mods, meaning I can get 10 aim assist total by having 3 harmonic targeting. I can have a 40% flinch resistance using 3 harmonic unflinching. Again, I just want to make this video very short. Should you be farming for this? The answer is probably no, but if you really want to try a 540 bow, then go ahead. Now, I do want to go in depth about these 4 perks up here. So starting with the first perk, Incandescent, is actually not that bad, right? But you don't really need it on this bow because you do have Wildcard. Typically, you want Incandescent to either scorch nearby enemies so they can't rest right off the bat, or you want to apply 40 Scorch with Ember of Ashes, then use your melee ability, your Snap melee, in order to ignite the following target. And typically, it just deals a lot of damage if you have Ember of Ashes, so that you can one-shot headshot targets that are fully affected by the Scorch. Collective Action is more or less an experimental perk that you can do with Ember of Tampering, which reads, Solar Weapon Final Blows grant you and your allies increased recovery for a short duration. Now, this is not actually the part that we want. We want the second part. While Ember of Tampering is active, your weapons have an increased airborne effectiveness, and your Solar Weapon Final Blows create a Fire Sprite, which does proc the Collective Action, giving you a 10% increased damage inside of PvP. Now, with 10% damage increase, you can't one-shot headshot. However, a 10% increase can be somewhat of a resilience check, and you can also probably use that with the Elemental Charge. So I think you need at least 2 2 fire sprites in order to gain a charge with light if you only have 1 or 2 copies of this, and you can pair it with something like solar weapon surge, increasing up to like what, 4% damage increase with 2 copies. I don't know if that's gonna be worth it for a resilience check. I'm not gonna test it because it takes a lot of work and I do need the god roll in the first place, which I'm probably not gonna get. Now the infamous Archer's Tempo and warm-up combo is actually really good. They're like the opposite of each other, right? Archer's Tempo allows you to gain a jaw time multiplier passively by hitting headshots. So you don't need to kill, but you do need the headshot. However, with warm-up, you get a faster jaw time for getting a kill. So it doesn't matter if it's a headshot or a body shot, as long as you get a kill, it decreases your jaw time. So the way you should be looking at Archer's Tempo and warm-up is that you can either proc this or this. It's not really like, oh, I can proc this together and have the fastest bow in the game. That's not how you really want to look at it. If that's your mentality, your playstyle is going to get really specific, which means you're limiting the way you can play the game. Like for example, even though I like Archer's Tempo a lot, I don't always go for headshots. I can also still body shot with the bow, right? So just because you have a perk like Swashbuckler doesn't mean you always need to go for a melee kill in order to proc the perk. And finally, the last perk that I would like to talk about is Opening Shot, which is just generally a good combination to put on top of Archer's Tempo. So that's pretty much everything that I would like to talk about the perks. But the one last thing that I would like to mention for you guys is that when you're using a bow or any other weapon in this game, just try it out and see if you like it or not. If you don't like it, don't go for it. Even though the stats is like higher than your favorite weapon or something like that, if you don't like using the weapon, then don't use it. You're often going to play worse if you're doing something you're not comfortable with. So right now, if for example, this feels worse than Shrouded Whistle, then I would probably still going to be using my Shrouded Whistle. There's no reason for me to use a weapon that feels worse in my hands, even though the stats say otherwise. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.